Hey,
Hi,
Isaiah.
Don. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. We were just talking about green rooms, and
Have
I
you
was,
ever been physically in a green room?
and they painted it green too. Yeah,
Do,
sometimes
do they
yeah, like
really?
like a little small room right before the stage, like green. I don't know. I mean, I think it's just I don't know how it got its name, the green room, but it's always nice when there is one.
Mhm.
If if you can be in there like by yourself before you go on, if there's a lot of people there, it can be I don't know. It's like has the opposite effect for me. Like I'm not trying to network before I go on stage. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to say. Some people don't care.
I've been on a lot of stages and yet never a
Ever
green
been
room.
in an actual green room? Well, have you been in
Never,
like
yeah,
a
never
side
actually.
room? Has there ever been a side room that's not painted green?
Honestly, I'm sort of like in the lobby. I'm on the wings.
Yeah.
I've just never been in a situation where there's like a
Yep.
room for talent. I love the idea.
You've probably
I
been
just
in rooms. You're just like, this is just a
Because it was not painted green.
I feel like
I
this
had
is
no idea, but that could be. All right, so I found an article.
okay.
I found an article on Fast Company,
Okay.
how to be more memorable at work and get a promotion.
I'm
I
ready.
mean, this has career leadership written all over it, doesn't it? So, if you want to stand out at work and get ahead, you'll need to become more memorable to your manager, and here's
Mm.
how to do it. And like I think there's a lot of truth to that. You need to be seen, you need to be known, you need to be memorable. These are all I think in order to see advancement in one's career, those are pretty strong pieces. Would you agree?
I do agree. Actually, this is a great topic because I just talked to somebody yesterday who's asking this question because things are getting tight at their company. So like, what can I do? And I think it comes down to
Yeah.
you, but I want to let you finish your points first because I'm interested.
All right, so here is the first point is become a concept. Become a concept, which is staying in other people's mind is actually the hardest and you have to get there in the first place.
Mm.
And so what they said is they have a problem to meet, they need to know who can meet that. And that's being the concept. So
I love that.
being the answer to their questions or their needs, being that problem solver, but almost more specifically within like some core areas.
I love-
So I think that makes a lot of
You know what
sense.
jumped in my head when you said that is, I read this in a book. I don't know what it is, but it talked about how McDonald's, like if people see a breakfast, like a Burger King breakfast
Mhm.
commercial, they think, oh, I should really go to McDonald's, get McDonald's breakfast. Like, it doesn't matter what commercial they see on because they were the originators or like they became the concept of like breakfast sandwiches that if anybody
Yeah.
sees a commercial, they think McDonald's is that.
Well, that's a really good point because they actually say that later on down the line where you need to be the first person. You want to get there in the first place. If you're the first person who can solve that issue, you
Yeah.
become the go-to. So that's very true. Very, very true.
Like
So
first
the
of all,
next thing is show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. And so it's the idea that you don't want to toil invisibly. You should find ways to work with other people that you want to impress, but you
mm,
don't want to just, like say this is you want to really show them through examples and not just tell people.
do the work. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um the other one is solve other people's problems.
Taking stuff off their plate. That is such an
Yeah.
underrated one. Like I think of it as, it actually brings up, have you ever heard this book, the five love languages or whatever? I
Mhm.
think the most undervalued, total tangent, but not really because one of them is acts of service. Like, so
Yeah.
unless you're somebody, I think at work, most people's work love language is acts of service. If you can take something off of somebody else's plate, like
Mhm.
you're like, I love this employee. Like this is like, it's
Yeah.
almost like finding money in your pocket. It's amazing. It's so rare.
So this is really curious. This is very curious because I had spoken to a man a number of years ago. Like, he was a client of mine, and he had said that his marriage was so strong and really helped him in his career. And it was something that he really relied on heavily. Most people do, but this guy was very
Yeah.
vocal about it. And he said the reason why they were so successful is they knew each other's love language. And I remember reading through to find out what it was. And I'm an acts of service type of person too. I mean, I want it and that's what I give. I wonder if there's some sort of correlation with entrepreneurs or business people.
I would bet most business owners are acts of service because they're like, I need to get this stuff off my plate. Like I had too much. But I would say, but that's important. It could also be, you probably professionally and personally are different. Like you're not going to have one of them is like, you know,
It's
qu-
it's
quality time or affection or what, like that's not going to happen professionally. But I think that acts of service is something that yeah, you want to make them fall in love with you as an employee.
Yeah,
Acts of service,
isn't there another one is saying nice things? I think
words of
that was one
affirmation.
of them.
Yeah,
And then presence being another one.
yeah,
Those were the ones
quality.
that I remember, which I could still see, like you could kind of tweak them to get them into the business
Sure.
way. Here's an interesting one. So after solve other people's problems, I like this one a lot. Ask for advice.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, have you when you think of your career, when you think of even, the work that you did with your PhD, I mean, what do you think about that ask for advice? Is that something
Kind of
that
like
you
it.
see?
I do. It's kind of like an informational review. If you elevate under somebody else's credibility, it's a gift. And a lot of people don't realize that. You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you've ever seen this TV show, Billions, which
I heard of it. I haven't watched it.
great show. But anyway, it's like all these like high level strategies basically. And one of the first season, this person who's this supposed to be this really just studies strategic history talks about how he goes and asks somebody for advice to get them to build rapport so that he can get eventually something for them to do. And most people don't think, especially at this level. So these are like billionaires that are playing this high level stakes games. And one of the strategies was to go to one of them because it's almost like you're deferring to their better opinion. You need
Yeah.
their help. And a lot of people don't
Yes.
realize that can be a give, a huge give.
And Ben Franklin had said someone had written to him and said, "This guy doesn't like me. How do I make him like me? What do I do?" And Ben Franklin said, "You go ask for help. Ask him to help you. Ask for
Yeah.
a favor. Ask for advice. When another person's helping another person, suddenly they like that person that they're helping."
Yeah.
And I think it all sort of works. I think there's also a bit of, asking for advice. You're putting that person in that mentor role. You're showing that you care what they have to say. There's a lot there. So ask for advice. That was the last one. So become a concept, show, don't tell, solve other people's problems, and ask for advice.
La Yesterday, I had somebody come to me and ask for advice. They were asking about they were at a smaller company. There's layoffs happening. They're a bit concerned. Apparently, there was still enough cash for like the next 18 months for investors. Anyway, so they're like, "What can I do to stay on here?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, what's your role?" And so they were in more of this kind of MSL role where they talk to these clinicians, these key opinion leaders. I'm like, "Okay, well, this company, they're going to need like, so I'm always trying to connect. Okay, like how can what is the boss really concerned about now? Probably revenue, probably
Mhm.
bringing in more clients, more leads. And most people, if you're not in a sales position, you never think about that at all. But if you're about to lose your job or whatever, like the solution
Yeah.
is how can you show them, how can you become a concept in their mind as a gateway to more revenue?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I said, look, you're talking to the customers, the clinicians were their customers, the diagnostic tools. You're talking to them every day. These are leads. Like, so instead of just reporting back, hey, here's the science they like, start reporting back, hey, here's the feature that we should talk about in our marketing collateral that's going to bring us more clients.
Yeah.
Here's what they're saying they like that's going to bring us more orders. Like you're not using that language. You're not saying orders. You're not saying collateral clients. And then ask the people you're talking to, is there anyone else that might like this diagnostic tool?
Mhm.
Like do some lead gen for them. You don't have
Yeah.
to sell. You can't, in fact, the position that you're in, you can't sell. It's like there's kind of regulations in pharma and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So you can't even sell, but you can ask for leads. You can do some lead gen. If you
Mhm.
do some lead gen for your boss, you're in their mind. Now you're solving their
Oh,
problem,
yeah.
concept, acts of service. I think all three of those in one.
I love it. I love it. I think and that's true across the board.
Yeah.
I remember my father had said to me years ago, he said, as a young person, you want to become a leader at a company. What do? Well, you start a company, you buy a company, or you get in sales.
Yeah, I know. Nobody
And
wants to do that.
there's a lot of truth to that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to leapfrog within an organization, generate
Sure.
business,
Well,
generate
business,
revenue.
and you can do it from any position, which is people don't realize it. Like I'm not. Well, you can be in R&D, you can be over here, but do you have like a lead gen mindset? Like, do you realize that they need to acquire customers? As long as you have a client acquisition mindset, you'll go ahead of everybody else in your department. Not
Yeah.
sales, because none of them are doing that. They're like, oh, I got to get my reports in. That's the key, and they wonder why they get cut so easily. So
Yeah. Yeah. All good ones. Any other tips that you think for someone who's looking to move up in a company for promotions? I mean, I'm also like in my mind, of course, I'm always thinking branding, so I'm
well,
thinking, dress for the job you want, not for the job that you have.
yeah,
Make sure that you've got everything. You look good online and offline. So in the office and outside the office, make sure
always-
that your profile looks great and you're really telling, the world who you are. I think those are things that really do make a difference.
Polish
So
lad.
that's
If somebody shows up every day, like dressed at a higher level, performing at a higher level, first one to leave, last one, a lot of people kind of say this stuff doesn't matter anymore. I think completely wrong. If you have somebody that shows up every day solving problems, it's that book like Seth Godin, right? The linchpin. You are a linchpin, and they're like,
yeah,
this is the last person to let go because they're holding all of this stuff together, and I can
yeah,
always count on them, always. So that's your brand. They're going to keep you.
yeah, love it. Well, it was great talking to you.
Thanks, Donna. See you
See
soon.
you next week. Bye-bye.